it's the same intro. Everyone has heard the intro before, so there's really no need for having a second time around. We'll get it right on the third or fourth week into this thing, so that's cool. Welcome, everyone, to the realm of madness with Madman Jax, and hopefully a host of other people that might be listening. It's hard to know, really. I think I'm live right now. Am I live? Are we good? Are we on the air?
Yeah, we're on the air, brother.
Good if
you know something, man?
Oh, that's fantastic.
We're on the air.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're on the air.
Oh my God,
what?
I'm already on. I'm on the air. I'm on. I'm walking on cloud 9 right now.
All right.
Oh, all right, folks. Well, here we are tonight. I hope everyone enjoyed last week's show, because that was a 3-hour marathon. 4 hours. It was close to 4 hours marathon of just absolute debauchery. You see, it started with a plan, and that's the thing. I always come on this show, and I always have some sort of plan to talk about certain things. And sometimes Odin shows up and he just derails absolutely everything, and but I'm fine with that, because it's fun. That's the dynamic nature of the show, after all. But yeah, so I'm here tonight, and I've got I think a couple hours allotted to me, so I'm here to entertain and enlighten, per the Global Enlightenment Radio. I can tell you right now that Odin is looking for something. And I know what it is. I don't want to reveal that he's trying to get the air conditioning to work in his domicile right now, and he is struggling greatly to find that. But
it's hot as hell, man.
Have difficulty sometimes finding. Yeah, it's probably 1,000 degrees in there. I can tell you right now, I'm in the office area of my house. It's like 500 degrees, which it's like a sweat lodge. It's just like the Native American sweat lodges. I think it helps. I think it actually helps my overall ability to talk about philosophical subjects and religious ideas. And actually that's what I wanted to kind of talk about tonight. If we any listeners or the Global Enlightenment Radio Network folk want to chime in, I was going to kind of go through this is my plan anyway, but of course, as we know, things can change rapidly. But I wanted to go through a little bit of my background, so that you guys understand that I'm not just some crazy dude that just comes on here, which I am. I am that as well. That comes on and wants to entertain, but I do like to keep it light a lot of times. But I think tonight we might go a little bit deeper. And I'm sure Reverend Ed may appreciate the deepness of this. So. Yeah, so tonight, let's talk about my background. Let's talk about the Madman. Where did the Madman come from? What made him so mad? Well, a lot of things, really. So let's say I grew up as a nominal Christian chap. I didn't have a very deeply religious upbringing, but when I was younger, you have the kind of nominal belief system that is brought to you by your parents. Boy, I really hope Odin finds that thing that he's looking for. It's I'm not saying it's distracting me, but it is absolutely, it's awesome. So
I'm gonna get
but anyway,
you, man.
so
You didn't want to hit it. You hid my remote control. You knew I was drinking, and you hid my remote control.
I'm not a psychic. I can't find this stuff. I'm not good at that. I'm just the common man. As I've said the last time that we came on, like, I'm just the regular guy. I can't tell you that probably the remote is not in the room right now. It's been taken out of the room. Mm-hmm. It's in probably a kid's pocket. It's probably check some dungarees, because that's probably where they're hiding. It's probably hiding in like a laundry basket. That's my psychic ability right now. I'm telling you, I bet your remote control for your air conditioner is in a laundry basket somewhere in your house. So yeah, check that out.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I tell you what. So yeah, I mean, if people are interested in knowing about the Madman and like what made him so mad, I mean, I'll tell you. That's what we're going to go through tonight. Well, like I said, I grew up in a nominally Judeo-Christian background. You know, everyone gets the the Bible readings and the the tales at night, especially the Genesis tales and whatnot. And that's what I received as a kid. You know, that was the gospel truth for me, and it was. I mean, that was the truth. And as time went on, I mean, ultimately I was a heathen. At the end of the day, as a young man, I was a heathen. And I can tell you, one day a certain man crossed my path, and that was the Reverend Ed Broderick, whom we know. Do we know him? Do we know Reverend Ed Broderick?
I
think we do.
Yes, we do know Reverend Ed, and you heathen, you.
Oh yeah, man! I tell you what, I was honestly, I still am very much a wild heathen at heart. But the Reverend absolutely has he helped me out quite a bit and changed my ways quite a bit. But there always is a dark side. Anyway, so the Rev, he kind of mentored me when I met him. We were working as security guards at the time, and of course, I can tell you, security guards are some of the most well-read people in the world, simply because we have so much time off. We're not time off, but you're on post. You're working night shift. You're like, you know what? I'm going to read books. I can tell you, before the internet age, though, before the internet was like popular now as it is, I read more books. I really was. I was a very well-read person. I would bring books to work and I would read them. I don't do that anymore. Now it's like, whoa, what's on Facebook, or what's on wow, let's see what's happening. My brain has turned to mush over the last few years, so I blame that entirely on the internet, 100%, absolutely. But Father Ed, he absolutely mentored me and taught me the ropes when it came to what it meant to be a Christian person. What it meant to be a Christian, because I had no idea ultimately. I mean, just that you have this sort of kind of superficial idea of what it means to be a religious or Christian person. And what happened was we had this sort of this sort of transformation period where he was my mentor. And I was very happy to have him in that time of my life, because I was a young guy and I needed a little bit of that type of thing. I would never go to a church. I was never the type of person that would walk into a church and be like, I need guidance. It just happens when it happens, and that is one of those God moments, as Ed would say. But after my time of hanging out with Ed and learning so much from him, just a wellspring of knowledge and guidance, just a man that's absolutely filled with the Spirit of God. I went off on my own. I actually went off on my own, and that's where things get interesting for me, because that's when my journey kind of diverges. And I went on a kind of just this wild ride. And I'm sure many people out there who are listening, who tune into the Global Enlightenment Radio Network, probably understand this as a fact for their lives, actually. I studied scripture on my own. I started being interested in apocryphal works and this and that, the church history and all these other kind of forbidden knowledge types of things. So I started looking deeper into that, and what that eventually led me to was the Eastern paths. And I would say that I often joke about this, that I had a kind of a George Harrison moment where I was very much studying Eastern philosophy, and from Hindu Vedanta to Theravada Buddhism and Taoism. I had taken on all the texts, all the sorts of ideas that had come from that, because as a Westerner, as a person from the West, I was unaware of these types of things. And so, as it often is with a person from the West, they see the East, they're like, wow, this is fantastic stuff. Why did I not know about this? How did I never find out about this? So I went there mentally anyway. I've never been to India, but I went there mentally. And one of the first books that I got a hold of was the Bhagavad Gita. Anyone know about that? Odin, you know about the Bhagavad Gita? The Hindu Bhagavad Gita. Well, I can tell you that was something. He's nodding. He's nodding to approval. Yes, I'm taking nonverbal cues right now, which is good. Which is a good thing. He showed me something on his phone. I have no idea what it was, but I'm sure it was relevant to what we were talking about. So anyway, so I had started reading the Bhagavad Gita, and it was like, man, I tell you what, it was like a wellspring of just absolute wisdom. Just when you read that book, and I'm sure some people out there are saying, I've read that book, or I've never heard of that book. It means the song of the Lord. It means the song of the Lord. Bhagavan means Lord in Sanskrit, and it is the account. It's actually a part of a larger work known as the Mahabharata, which is a much larger account, which is it's a history, a pseudo, I wouldn't say pseudo history because I don't want to offend people, but it's a history of the Indian people, the Indian religion, and it is one of the books in the Mahabharata, and the book is very interesting because it is a exposition on what it means to be, what the meaning of life is. And so as I am a 20-year-old man reading this, realizing like, wow, this is just absolutely a wellspring of knowledge. Like I can't believe what I'm getting here. And I did. I was hook, line, and sinker, all about it. The book talks about what the ultimate purpose is for life, and of course, as a Western person, not understanding the meaning of karma and dharma, according to the Hindu tradition, you know, I always assumed that, you know, God was a separate entity that as opposed to being a sort of pantheistic or panentheistic entity that is both a part of everything, as though I am also a part of God. I am a part of it. And so that ultimately was just absolutely a revolutionary idea to me. I never heard of such a thing. So I read this book. I absorbed it, much like Krishna, who says, you know, you don't need scriptures you don't need all the other scriptures out there, the Vedas, when you have the wellspring of knowledge before you. You don't need it. If you have the stream next to you, if you have the river next to you, you don't need the well. The well is the scripture. You have the full potential, the power behind the stream itself, the river. So I said to myself, I have the river now. So I am enlightened beyond belief. So after that, I'm like, you know, let's pick up some other books, and I grabbed a hold of the Upanishads. I started reading the Upanishads, which of course are very much related. This is all related to Hindu Vedanta, which is a school of thought. It's one of the many philosophical schools within India. And just like Greece has many philosophical schools. India also had similar things. So it was a fascinating thing, a fascinating journey for me when I'm reading this stuff, and it made sense. That's the thing. What it did was it changed my perspective of everything. What I thought the world was about initially when I was a younger person. This is changing everything. At the same time, listen, I started absorbing other stuff. You know, I'm listening to kirtan music. I'm chanting. I'm doing all this stuff. You know, and I'm taking this stuff hook, line, and sinker. But I'm also at the same time very interested in learning about other things too. I'm saying to myself, let's go and look into the Far East. Let's see what, you know, Chinese Taoism or Confucianism has to say about things. And so I move on, and I'm reading the Tao Te Ching, and I'm trying to understand what it means to be, you know, the ineffable Tao, and how I'm a part of this immutable thing, which is unnameable. You know, and I understand this unnameable essence that comes from this, you know, the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, the Brahman, right? The Brahman. Hopefully people are understanding what I'm talking about here. The Brahman, the underlying absolute of reality. I mean, this is something that we all talk about different philosophies, whether it be Greek philosophy or even contemporary philosophy like Spinoza and whatnot. The absolute. We're talking about the thing, the one, the monad, the thing that is the ground of all being. And in Hindu philosophy, it's the Brahman. In Chinese philosophy, it's the Tao. And so here I am. I'm learning about all this stuff, and what I realize is that as I'm absorbing all of it, I start to have kind of like this, I don't know, disillusionment with it as I'm learning about it. I mean, at first it's fantastic. It's like meeting somebody for the first time. You meet a partner for the first time, and it's wonderful. But then you start realizing that, like, maybe this partner has been passed around a lot. You start realizing that this person's been around quite a bit. And sometimes in my opinion anyway, and of course this is just my opinion, that when you have sometimes these universal truths, it's not necessarily like that's a good thing. Even though it's a universal thing, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's ultimately true. And what I mean by that is that you have multiple truths, multiple ideas that are true, and that ultimately leads to a form of relativism. And what happened to me was, as I approached all these things, my conception of what God is, became very, very small. And I adopted this idea of divine simplicity, as the Neoplatonists and others had done. And that's the other thing. So I had moved on from Eastern philosophy to the West. I found out, oh my goodness, so there's a whole other branch of philosophies that come from Greece and Hellenistic philosophy. So wow, this is great. Maybe I should go check that out as well. So I did, and I read the Aeneas of Plotinus. Oh God, just a wellspring of knowledge there too. Just so much. I read that. I read Epictetus, the Stoic philosophers. I read all that stuff, and I absorbed it all. And I was finding commonalities between the Hindu ideas and the Greek ideas. It's powerful stuff. It's powerful stuff. But at the same time, to me, it felt like I was losing my grip on my former ideas of what truth truly was. I mean, if you have this apophatic, and apophatic just simply means through negation, this idea of what God is, and without positive attributes, which the Brahman in Hindu Vedanta is, eventually you start not understanding what God actually is. And I eventually had a legit existential crisis. So you can legitimately call me the madman, because I did. I had a complete existential crisis when it came to this type of knowledge that had come to me. I literally was staring into the void, because when you reduce God down to an ineffable, just a divine simplicity or an absolute, as the Brahman or the one of Plotinus, God means nothing. It means nothing. You are basically creating your own God. You're creating your own idea of what God is. It's not the same God that is of worshipable nature in the Bible, or in the Quran, or anything like that, or the Torah, or the Tanakh. You're not finding that. You find this philosophical principle, and that is something that absolutely changed my opinion on religion. There is philosophy which somehow always finds its way into religion. Philosophy always seems to find its way into religion, and whether it be Eastern or Western, Eastern philosophy is very much saturated with it. And of course, the scholastic Christian church is very much saturated with it as well. However, if it bolsters your faith, that is a good thing. But if it does not bolster your faith, then most likely it is a bad thing. And it will cause a person, if they look too deeply, to have a struggle, a sort of existential crisis, as I did, actually. So much so that I absolutely, after I had this sort of kind of existential crisis with all these relative ideas, milling around inside my head, which caused me to have madness, of course. What happened was I had a full renunciation of these types of idealistic philosophies entirely. You don't want to talk metaphysics with me at this point. I have moved on from that. So what did I do? I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to deal with this stuff anymore because, frankly, I realize it's just causing me to be crazy. It's not enlightening me in any way. It's not making me a better person. It's not making me feel like I understand the universe any better, though it should be. Though it is something most people listening would say, like, oh, you just don't get it. You just don't understand Vedanta then, or you just don't understand the Tao. Well, that's true. We're not supposed to ultimately understand it because it's an unknowable thing. It's apophatic. It's like the cloud of unknowing, right? That's something that you're not supposed to know. It's behind a veil. So that's what caused me to have my existential crisis that led me to staunch materialism. And I did. I became a staunch materialist. And I said to myself, well, I'm still a very deep philosopher, and I don't want to leave behind all the interesting minutiae of philosophy. I want to continue in that, but I don't want to do the idealistic philosophies anymore. I want to move on. I want to move on for that. Is there deep materialist, corporeal philosophy? And indeed there was. And indeed there was. I found a home. I found a home online, of course, with a group of people that call themselves modern Epicureans. And for the folks that don't know who the Epicureans are, I am going to enlighten you tonight. As this is the Global Enlightenment Network, Radio Network, I have enlightenment for you. The Epicureans often are considered to be people who are associated with gluttony, with vivacious sort of behavior, where they are in orgies or partaking in those types of things. Well, I can tell you, far be it, folks, far be it. If you join any sort of Epicurean group simply for that purpose, I tell you, you will be disappointed, because that is not how that works. But I was relieved to know, I was absolutely relieved to know that there was a philosophy that did not partake in this sort of idealistic philosophy, these different ones that I had been partaking in. And it was purely materialistic. There was no life after death. There was no creator. There was no God, really, to speak of. I mean, absolutely, there were gods, of course, in Epicurean philosophy. However, there was no God, no creator God. The universe had existed always. And it was simply by chance, pure chance, the swerve, as they like to call it, in Epicurean philosophy, that caused this world that we know and love so dearly to come into existence. And the world has no particular meaning. It has no meaning. The primary goal of life, the primary goal of Epicurean philosophy is pleasure, internal pleasure. Because what Epicurus, the philosopher of the time, he said, because he was actually a student of Platonic ideas, and said, no, this is not true. This is not actually what the universe, this is not how the universe actually works. See, Plato has this idea that there is a sort of illusion that covers everything, that we live inside a cave, you know, just like the allegory of the cave. And once a man who is enlightened makes his way, or woman, makes his way out of the cave, they get out of the cave, they see the world as it truly is. Now, to a certain degree, there is some truth to that. If we were to able to see the universe as it truly is, perhaps maybe there is something more to it, right? I mean, ultimately, that would be true if we can actually see all things, if we can see everything. But we are bound by our senses, and that is something that Epicurus was very deeply rooted, what he was rooted in. We are bound by our senses, and I agreed with that. I agree. We are. I mean, I can only tell you what I know, what I see, and what can be testable. Everything else ultimately is speculation, right? I mean, ultimately, isn't that true? I mean, we speculate on a lot of things, but nothing is provable. We need evidence. We need proof of these types of things. And so as I am studying this, I am becoming vehemently opposed to any sort of, I would say metaphysical ideas, religious ideas, and I was becoming very, very hostile to such things. My former schools of thought, of course, were anathema to me, and I definitely moved on from them, and I was a proponent against them. I would argue vehemently against them. So I did that for quite some time, and eventually, I just lost all sort of love for what I used to be interested in entirely. I would say that I was a lost individual at the time, because, you know, as I'm looking back on myself now, I mean, I've moved on even from that. What happened was, I remember one day what brought me back was I was having a very serious discussion with somebody who had they brought up a very specific biblical issue, which I feel like I'm not a Bible scholar, but it was a knowledge, it was something that was just common knowledge that everyone should know, and it was mocked, and so I questioned it, and I started to realize that maybe I am too far away. Maybe I've moved too far. Maybe I've gone too far into this materialist world. I'm seeking only after pleasure. I'm disavowing virtue, and that is something that they will argue against. Virtue is important. I mean, there is a certain level of virtue. Into the Epicurean, the principle of virtue. The principle of virtue is only a means to an end. As long as a virtuous thing brings you pleasure and happiness, hedonism, then that's what it's worth. But other than that, there's no virtue, there's no purpose to virtue. So I moved on from that. I said to myself, let's see if I can reclaim some of my former self. So I started, reading the Gospels again, not from the way I had been reading them before, not from a philosophical perspective, and how certain other, from a scholastic perspective. And that's what I was doing. Jesus was not in the forefront, so I did not have Jesus in the forefront. I had pulled Jesus out, and I had placed all these other philosophical ideas in. And ultimately, what I realized was that was ruining my concept of what true religion was, true faith. It's not good. It's not good. If it bolsters your faith, that's a different thing. That's important. That's an important thing. But if it's ruining your faith, that's not good, because you will end up in the same position that I was in, completely lost and alone, isolated. So what happened? I started reading. I started going back. I felt like I was lost. I said to myself, I've been all over the place. I've been trying this world out. I've been testing everything. I've been seeing what everyone's got to offer. All these different philosophies, all these different things. What do they get to offer for me? And you know what? Not much. And that's what I have to say tonight. Honestly, that's what I have to give you. That's what I've come to after this half hour of already talking about my background. If you've still been following, all the shit that I talked about before, it meant nothing. All of it. I can tell you that any metaphysical idea that I ever studied, came up with, pondered in my armchair, didn't make me a better person. Didn't make me a better person whatsoever. All it did was cause undue mental stress upon me. Anyway, what I learned as time went on, that my perception of the metaphysical and all this other stuff ultimately does not make a person a better person. What I learned was from my new studies, when I coming back to the gospel, when I'm coming back to the ethical teachings of Jesus Christ, I learned some things. I learned that, and I've said this before. I said this in one of the previous episodes, I think, when I had Ed on here. The thing that actually brought me back was the parable of this Good Samaritan. And above all things, and it's not a metaphysical thing. It is not a metaphysical thing. It's not some sort of deeply philosophical thing that you need to climb a mountain or go and do some sort of deep type of religious philosophical training. No. It's simple. And that's what I learned. There's simplicity to all this. The Good Samaritan, the parable of the Good Samaritan, what I learned was, in that parable, if people don't know it, that there is a man who has been accosted on the side of the road, and that person is laying ill and wounded on the side of the road. And there are three people that show up. Three people show up. You have a Levite who shows up, and he is not able to help the person that has been accosted on the side of the road. And the reason why is that due to the law, I can't touch you. You're unclean, and so I'm unable to help you. So the Levite leaves. The priest shows up. Same thing. He can't touch this person on the side of the road, right? He can't help him. So he leaves as well. This man is still bleeding out on the side of the road, right? Who shows up next? The third person shows up. It's a Samaritan. And anyone who's studied religion knows, especially when it comes to Judeo-Christian religion, that the Samaritans are a people among the Jewish population as a lowly people. They are considered a lowly people. The Samaritan, on the other hand, does something that is unexpected. The Samaritan helps the man on the side of the road, and he offers him aid and brings him to where his destination and helps him and gives the person at that destination money to help pay for his debts. I mean, this is something that is a powerful message. And of course, what you learn from this is that this simple teaching, it's simple stuff, right? Love thy neighbor as thyself. Those types of things. That's powerful stuff, man. That's powerful. It's so simplistic and yet so difficult to do, because that's what we have here. We have such difficulty doing these types of things for each other. And what you learn is because it is so utterly simple that it has to be divine. And it also at the same time impossible, because you see people on the side of the road, you say, oh, that person's going to buy drugs, or they're going to, I don't want to give them money. I don't want to give. No. That's not the intent. That's not the intent. In your heart, if you see someone on the side of the road that needs help, you help them. Because that is the right thing to do, right? That's the golden rule. You want to be treated as others should be treated. I mean, that's really the truth. And what I learned from that is that there's a certain kind of subtle ethical philosophy that runs through all things. I learned very quickly that all the philosophy, all the things that I had learned in previous years meant nothing. It meant absolutely nothing. It was just, it's like a lot of straw or hay, it just that was surrounding just a nugget of truth. And so I left it all behind. And what I became keenly aware of was this sort of, sort of battle that's going on in the world today, and it continues to go on. The philosophical stuff that I learned, and I am deeply knowledgeable about this stuff, it means nothing to me. It means absolutely nothing to me. It was a distraction. Ultimately, it was a distraction because it kept me from truth. And that's what we're here to learn, right? We're on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network for truth. We're here for the truth. Well, I can tell you that the truth is simple. The truth is not something that is, you don't have to go very hard or do some vigorous activities to figure it out, or seek some guru. It's not like that. What I learned was that the truth, it truly is self-evident. It's when you feel it in your soul. And what I was keenly aware of after this sort of revelation, this sort of apocalyptic revelation, I guess, because that's really where what I did reveal, what was revealed to me, because it became a revelation of what the world is. is that there is a battle going on. The battle that might be tongue-in-cheek for a lot of people. People might say, well, is that true? Well, look at the world around you. Our world does reflect a world that is in chaos and in battle against forces. Because think about what we are. We are ethical beings. We are beings that are empathetic, and those beings who can either have the propensity to do great good or great evil. And so what I learned from all this is that humankind, has a choice to make. They can either follow the golden rule, follow the great commandment to love thy neighbor as thyself, or they can seek out a world that is full of darkness. And you will find that people tend to not think much about the adversary. And that's something I would like to talk about in another show entirely. I would like to spend some time on that, because I think a lot of people tend to forget that there is an adversary in the world. And just like the Rolling Stones song, Sympathy for the Devil, it is important to understand that such a being does in fact exist in this world. And if I am here telling you this right now, and it might be a shock to you, having studied all these different philosophies, having gone far away and not even believing in the idea of a god or a devil, coming back and realizing that this is objectively real. And a person can see this once they kind of step out of themselves and look at the world as it is. And it is true that there is a devil in this world. There's an author named Jeffrey Burton Russell who I really admire. He wrote a few books. He was actually I guess a subject matter expert for William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist. And frankly, my opinion of exorcisms, I do believe in exorcisms. I do believe in demonic possession. I believe that is a real thing, as real as anything else. However, it is the theatrics of it that I think that frighten people, and especially for many, many years, for thousands of years across all cultures, demonic possession has been something that truly frightens people. However, that is not the main goal of the devil, I think. I would say that the main goal of the devil is through subtle diversion, and that's something we are all experiencing right now. We don't think much about that anymore. We don't realize how much we are being, I would say, distracted and tempted to do things, to think things, to be a certain way, right? We talk about all the sorts of different political things and things that are on the social media and on the internet. All this stuff, it's diversion, because it is eroding your soul. It's eroding your mind. It's making you a darker person. It's making you into a person that does not have the capacity to feel love for another human being anymore. That is the true power of the devil. If anyone's wondering how that truly works, that's what his goal is. That goal is to make the world so unappealing, so unpleasant, that no one will try to seek out sanctity, to seek out holiness, to seek out the good in the world. That's the devil. That's the devil. That's what he does. And he does it through subterfuge. He's been doing it for a very long time. It's a trick. He does it in such a way, I think it's David Baudelaire that said, the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing humankind that he doesn't exist. Well, that's what he's done. He's made God irrelevant, and he's made himself even more irrelevant, to the point where he does not exist anymore. Go out there, talk about the devil. Feel free. Listen, I've already come on this show as a madman. I'm coming on as a madman right now. I'm fine. I can talk about the devil. But any lucid person, not like a madman, wants to go out and talk about the devil, laugh you out of the room. And that is power. That is power. I don't exist. I'm not a part of you. I'm not a part of your world. So what I do behind the scenes, behind the curtain, I get away with total impunity. So that is something at some point, maybe in a later show, I don't know, I would like to talk more fully about that when it comes to the devil. However, my position ultimately is this, and it does go back to somewhat of a biblical perspective. If the devil is real, right? If we do believe it, for the sake of argument that the devil is real, how is it that we defeat the devil? How do you defeat the devil? If you don't know the devil exists, well, how do you defeat him? How are you going to defeat something that you don't even care about, that doesn't even exist? What are you going to do? Nothing. Of course not. You're just going to follow along. You can come up with all sorts of things. Yeah, you can follow some sort of crazy social justice movement, but if it is not based on the thing that the devil fears the most, the thing that he fears the most is the cross. It's simple stuff, folks. This is simple stuff. And I'm not coming from any sort of philosophical perspective on this. If you fundamentally believe that there is a tangible force of evil out there, there's a tangible force of evil, and I think I digressed because of what I was talking about Jeffrey Burton Russell. Jeffrey Burton Russell talked about that there's different classifications of evil. There's all sorts of different classifications. You have natural evil, hurricanes, such and such. You have, like this virus that's going around, right? That's a natural evil. Cancer is a natural evil. But then you have what might be considered radical evil. Something that is like, wow, that's wild. What is that? What is radical evil? Well, radical evil is the things that you don't even want to imagine. You can't imagine what this stuff is. It's every bad thing that you can ever conceive of. That does happen. That does happen. I assure you that if you are not aware of the absolute paralyzing terrors that go on in this world, that people do to each other, then I need you to understand that is true, because radical evil exists in this world. It absolutely exists in this world. It is powerful and it is tangible. It is a tangible thing. What you have to do, and as Jeffrey Burton Russell identified, was that this radical evil does not just exist in the hearts of men as just in a vacuum. It is a part of a influence program that comes from a much higher source. It is there's an intellectual activity behind it, because this sort of radical evil wants to cause harm. It wants to cause harm with no other purpose behind it other than power and to cause pain and suffering. And so what I learned from that is that, hey, that's what the world actually looks like. None of this other stuff, all this other stuff that people talk about and all the other philosophical ideas, they're meaningless. Oh, that's right. No. This world absolutely reflects the darkness that other philosophies fail to recognize. And so here I am. I'm learning about what I should have known since the very beginning. I went on a decade-long journey trying to figure out the nature of reality, and here I am. I learned it when I was a little kid. The stories about the devil and God, right? Battling each other out. No, it's real. It's absolutely real. So what I've come to realize is that the program for this ultimate radical evil is absolutely subtle. It's changed the arena, right? For the last few thousand years, there's been a change of things. New platforms have come into existence, new technologies. Now, frankly, all these things, all the worst possible things in life, there's nothing new under the sun, right? I believe that's a proverb. There's nothing new under the sun. Bad things have happened. Everything you can imagine, literally everything you can imagine has already happened. People do horrible things. It's just new avenues for it. So what is the greatest thing that the devil most likely has conceived of? Well, it's the internet, of course. The internet. And this has been my gospel for a long time to be preaching. I have to warn people that the internet is a tool. It is ultimately a tool. I mean, listen, I'm here swimming in it right now. I'm here on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network, but I'm in the ocean. I'm with everybody. We are all in it together. There's no escaping it. You tell me one time that unless you're going to go live up in the mountains somewhere and by yourself, be, completely efficient and not have any connection to this stuff. No. We live in this Orwellian nightmare right now. We're in it right now. And I am telling you that the Lord of this world is absolutely behind all of this. He is absolutely behind all of this. He is attacking us. It's like the boiling frog scenario, right? You don't realize that the water's boiling until you you're already in it. Well, we're already in it, folks. If you haven't been aware, if you haven't been paying attention to like what's been happening in the world, we are absolutely sucked in to this media, these platforms. There's no escaping it. At one point, maybe it was a choice, but it's no longer a choice anymore. Go apply for a job. Find yourself a job out there that you don't have to actually go online and put something out there, or do your banking online. It's preferred that you do your banking online. All these things lead back to this sort of idea that there is an ultimate control mechanism that is behind all these platforms and all this interconnection, this globalism. But at the very base of all this thing, it's not a web. Ultimately, it's a labyrinth, because we all have become lost in it. We've all become lost in the labyrinth. Even the madman has become lost in the labyrinth, right? We're all stuck in it. There's no way out. No way out. Or is there? Or is there a way out? Well, like I said earlier, I think that the Reverend Ed, as I was taught a long time ago, that there is a way to defeat this sort of ultimate evil. There is a way. Only one way. There's only one way. And I'm telling you this because, listen, we can talk about it different ways. We can talk about all sorts of different things. But I don't believe necessarily that those things will work. I don't believe that they will work. If you believe that there is a tangible devil in the world, there's some sort of truly intellectual evil that exists, well, what does he fear? What does this devil fear? What does this thing fear? He fears the Word of God. He fears the Spirit of God. He fears the sacrifice of the Son of God, right? And these are all just statements of fact, of religion, of the faith itself. There's nothing philosophical about it. It's simply that the devil himself fears these things. So how do you combat? How do you combat evil? Through the gospel. You combat evil by doing the things that I learned when I read the parable of the Good Samaritan. You love each other. You give love, right? I mean, look at what we do here on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. We're all a family here, right? We all come on here. We all talk to each other, and we lift each other up when we're feeling bad in a certain way. And this is what we do. We spread that enlightenment. That's what we do. It is a simple thing to love each other, to give that love. And that's important, and that's an important thing. But the thing that truly frightens the devil is a person that is willing to give themselves over to his adversary. Of course, according to the Christian ideas, that is, of course, Jesus Christ. So that is my cure for the devil. That is my absolute cure for the devil. And whether or not a person believes it, that's up to them. That's completely up to them. But I assure you that this entity will be ravaging your life as he has ravaged my life and others over and over again, forever and ever. So that is your way out. That is absolutely your way out. So anyway, that was my background. Ultimately, that was my journey through faith, and that might give you a little bit of a kind of a glimpse into who I am as the madman. But Daryl, do you think that was a good synopsis of? I mean, do you think that people were able to follow that? Do you think people were able to follow? Did I expound enough on that, or maybe I went too many paths?
He's a madman. He's a madman. Ah!
And I tell you, he got serious.
Yeah,
It
you
got
did
serious
get real
tonight.
serious,
It got
and I have to admit something.
yeah,
You know, I normally
yeah.
don't come
Go
out
for it.
with that level of communication skills because, people don't expect that out of me. But, listening to you tonight, I actually thought about something. And, you went from your ideological, philosophical beginnings to where you are now. And I have to say, you know, as a warrior of Jesus, as the Rev would say, you're on the right path. You are there to stop that evil that exists in this world. And I'm using the word evil and existence because I've never said it was never an evil out there. Um, Listening to you, it gives a deeper meaning to who you really are. And just like all the other hosts on this network, we have a deeper side to us. And yeah, we like to kick it and have some fun and pop a drink and
Of
pop a
course.
smoke or whatever. And we like to kick back and entertain you people out there. But, sometimes we have to get a little deep for you, as they say. Put your
Yeah.
put your brain on another level every once in a while. We don't do it all the time, but we do it every once in a while. We like that kick
No.
back. But
Well,
I gotta say this honestly, you people think that radio is fun and games. You think the humans on Global Enlightenment are, oh, we're just jokesters. No, we have a little bit of everything here for a reason. And the depth that he
got it
just,
all.
yeah, we got it all. The depth that, Madman over here took you should have said, duh, this one's not meant to be fucked with. He's got
That's
a path.
correct.
He's
And
got,
I listen. I hold with that, and that's the thing. Like, listen, if we want to talk about the wiles of the devil, we want to talk about, you know, certain other topics that might be, controversial. I'm open to that. I'm open to all those types of things, and you know, whatever it is, if someone has a question out there or something like that, listen, I'll talk about it, and that's the hope. If there are people that are listening that are interested in chit chatting about certain topics, that's what I'm for. And I'll tell you what, I joke about this. Hey, I can do a bad psychic reading for you too.
You went from
If you want to
serious to
call in,
jokes.
I can give you a really terrible psychic reading and ruin your life. But I am the common man. I am the common man. I don't talk to angels. I don't talk to, I don't have voices talking to me. I don't astral project. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm just the common man. I'm the common man that's trying to figure out his way in this world that we're all trying to figure out. And it's hard. It's a hard path. It's not an easy path for us. We're all seekers, right? That's the word where we say, oh, we're a seeker. We're looking for truth. Well, I believe that there is an objective truth. I do believe that, because if there's only relative truths, then there's no truth at all, because that doesn't mean there's any truth. I mean, if that's the definition of relativism. There's no truth because it's all relative. I believe that there is one objective truth to this world. And I think that, we're all seekers, right? We're all looking for it. And we all go through this journey. We all try to, someone can tell you something, but you may not go to them. You may not like, oh yeah, no, I don't believe what you have to say. I'm going to go do it myself. I'm going to go read volumes or go hang out with a guru someplace. That's what people have to do. But you have to test it out yourself. Hey, I was the prodigal son. I went out. I partied. I had a great time. I tried different things. And then I realized that, it wasn't helping me in any way. It wasn't helping me become a better person. And trust me, I am just the average man. I have my struggles. I have my bad thoughts, right? I'm not just some saint. Even though you listen, hey, right? You like Reverend Ed would say, what, right? We live by grace, right? Because just like Odin is a warrior, right? He is a warrior. We're warriors, man. We do crazy things. We think crazy things, but we live by grace. It is by that. We're not perfect people. We're not saints. Even the saints are sinners, and we do horrible things. And that should be something that is enlightening for people. I think that to understand that, if anyone is listening and that they're feeling a certain way, understand this. Understand one thing, that what you have done or what you have thought does not make you irredeemable. You always have a chance to come back. You always have a chance to come back. It is that eternal moment of choice that you get to make. And you can choose to not do or turn away, right? We say, I think, what was it, one of the last episodes, Ed was talking about repentance, right?
Yep.
Repentance means to change your mind. And so you do. You change your mind. You say, I'm not going to be that person. Will I slip up again? Absolutely. You'll absolutely slip up. You're absolutely going to fall back into old ways. You're going to do things that you slide back, right? That's what we do. I do it. It happens. That's what we do. But you are not irredeemable. A person is not irredeemable. A person is only irredeemable when they have completely shut themselves out. And it is them that they do it them to themselves. They hide their faces from redemption, from salvation. And when you live a life like that, you are under the power of the Lord of this world. Absolutely. He is absolutely aware of your existence. He is aware of what you do and what your weaknesses are, and he will absolutely destroy you. He will destroy your life in all possible ways. He is doing that now to many, many people, to this country even. He is doing it to populations of people. So remember, as we fight against each other, right? We do not wrestle against flesh and blood. We don't wrestle against each other. We wrestle against powers that we can't see, powers that we don't know about, that would rather remain hidden. Because if you were to unveil them, if you were to reveal who they truly were, that's power. You have power over them.
That's
You have their identity. You have their name. You can show them for what they are. They would prefer to be hidden. And that is the truth. That is the truth. And whether you are a person that is a spiritual person or not, it must mean something to you to understand that, yes, there are those people out there. There are those people, those things, those ideas that truly are wrecking the world and wrecking individual lives. So those people who say that they believe that they are irredeemable, you are not irredeemable. All of us have a chance to come back. We all have a chance to come back. And it does come down to truly loving your neighbor as yourself. That is it. If you want to come back, I'm telling you right now, you're going to do it anyway. You'll go read volumes of philosophy, go read, the Aeneids and the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, all these things. You will learn all sorts of things about the nature of the metaphysical God, but you won't understand what it means to be truly doing something that is God ordained. And that's what I've learned, and that's what I personally have learned. I've learned that if you're going to do something that is truly religious, it is a good thing to be seeking what is inside of you. It's your soul. You feel through your soul. It's not something that's intellectual. It's not an intellectual thing. All the intellectual things in the world have done nothing for me. They did absolutely nothing. I was a lost person. I didn't care about my fellow man, but I do care about my fellow man, and it is important to let your soul, that stuff needs to bolster you. You need to lift yourself up. Yeah. And it is true. It is through fellowship. It is through brotherhood. It is through love. That is how you defeat it. There are some universal truths, right? The Dhammapada talks about, there's no way to defeat hate through hate, right? There's no way to do that, because all it does is spark more hate. That is a truth. That is a universal truth. So you take that the gospel, you take those types of universal truths, and you apply that to the world. You can't defeat hate through hate. You will absolutely continue to be drawn back in to the darkness, because that is where the power is, where the power of the devil is. He wants you to hate. He wants you to hate the other person and see the other person as lesser. He wants you to see the other person as a lesser being, because that is where he will be able to influence you and make you into the worst possible version of yourself. Listen, when we're scared, what do we do? What do we do when we're scared? We react. in our most base ways. We go back to our most tribalism and every other manner of thing. That is not helpful. That is not helpful. It's helpful in primordial times, but in a world that is globalized and is an enlightened world where we do have these sorts of truths that have come to us. No, we can't allow ourselves to be driven by hatred, and by violence, and by chaos. You have to love. You do. You have to submit yourself to it. And that's the only way you can defeat evil. That's truly the only way. Otherwise, we're all just going to be swimming around in this darkness together. So it's the choice that everyone gets to make. We can choose the world. We can choose world philosophies. We can choose all sorts of other things, political views of things and this and that. It's not how it's going to be defeated. Because if there is one objective truth, and we do believe, and I truly believe that there is a devil in this world. I truly believe there's a devil and there's an evil in this world. I truly believe that there is a righteousness, a thing that is powerful enough to destroy that darkness. That darkness is not the most powerful thing in the world. And what do? You adopt it. You adopt the light. If you are born into darkness, you adopt the light. So that's what I suggest for people. It's not. I'm not commanding it. I'm just simply entreating everyone to come to it, to come to that, to say, I want to love my brother. I want to love my brother. I want to love my neighbor as myself. Do the commandment. I tell you now that is going to save us. That is the thing that will actually save us. We stop seeing each other as the lesser. We stop accusing each other of things. Listen, we are all, once you consider yourself forgiven, right? God forgives you. God forgives you. And when I talk about you're not irredeemable, until you have completely hidden your face from it. Completely hidden your face from salvation. You're not irredeemable. We as a people, as a whole society, have the ability to look at each other and love each other as a neighbor. This is in Greek cosmopolitanism. It's the idea that we are one world. We are one world. And so if you want to, cause division and cause chaos and whatnot, think about who you are truly working for, what it is that you are truly working for. Think deeply about that. Test it. Feel it in your soul. It's not just an intellectual thing. It's something that you can feel. When you feel that there's something's not right? You do the smell test. It's not good. It's not right. And you know that maybe, just maybe, even if you don't truly, maybe you're on the fence. I don't know if I believe in this. Well, I can tell you, this is just my testimony. I believe it. And I was lost for a long time. I spent a long time away from this sort of truth. I've come to realize it objectively. This was not something that was like, oh wow, this just came to me. No. This is an objective thing. I realized that the world as we see it is reflective of a world that is in battle, that is constantly in chaos and battle, because we have this ability to be the most beautiful creatures, the most beautiful. We do the most wonderful things. We can create art, we can create music, we can create all sorts of wonderful things. We can do the most selfless human deeds for each other. But at the very same time, just on the other side of the veil, the worst possible things. And like I say, if you don't believe it, use the internet. Go look. Go have a peek for yourself. Take off your sunglasses and go have a peek at what's actually out there, because it's true. I mean, this is a portal into that world. And if you are feeling as though that these things aren't real, they are. I assure you that they're real. So that's my piece as it stands when it comes to talking about my religious background, my philosophies. And like I said, I wanted to kind of give folks an idea of like who I truly am. I mean, like Daryl was saying, like, hey, we have fun on here. We have a great time. Last weekend we were just BSing and we talked about a lot of good stuff. We talked about some political things and whatnot. But and I try to make it funny. I try to not make it too political. But listen, I want to talk about stuff. I want to be able to like reach out to people, and I hope that that was hopefully enlightening for a lot of folks. So,
well, I believe it is, because
what do you think?
I think people are learning. I think people are coming to adjust their mindsets to the force of knowledge in which we're giving them. I mean, we're not called Global Enlightenment for no reason. And I must state that
get everybody on here.
Everybody, y'all are in the chat room. If you want to hop in, you know something, you got the link. Hop on in. It's time. The door is open. Matt's opened his mouth, and it's time to, what is the word? Let's commune together. I'm one of those people that believe that communing as a family, like we do at Global, I mean, dag, we're a family there. We giggle, we laugh, we shoot the bull, we give knowledge, we help each other, we communicate. When one's down, the family comes together and boosts them up. Yeah, we've had a lot of things happening over this brief couple of months. We've grown, we've loved each other a lot more, and everybody is equal. There's nothing special about it. We're all family. Sit at the table together, drink wine together, giggle and laugh together. I love it. But on the other side, the people out there in the world, they've lost, you know something? I think the statement in the movie Avatar was correct. They lost their belief. They lost their God. People have lost their God. They've lost their faith. They've lost their belief in not only the being itself, but themselves. Intellectually, you put everything on a totem. I mean, I got PhDs, and I got an MD, and my cousin's a lawyer, my son's a senator, and all that means is you're a human sitting on a special level of work or indoctrinated slavery because you're not helping your fellow man. But that's another area. I mean, I normally don't go there, and you know, you really got me to go there tonight because I gotta do it. I think people are crazy.
Well, hey, hang on. Well, you just said, right? You said like you know, we're talking about like the Good Samaritan, right?
Right.
Who showed up? Who showed up? You had three different people showing up. One of which was like an academic. One of which was like a person who was high up in society, and they didn't help. What they had, they had the credentials, they had those types of things, and that didn't help. No. It was the person that was considered the lowliest person. That lowly person helped. That lowly person. It's the person that is going, hey, listen, I'm down and out, and this guy who I don't even know just handed me a bottle of water. You know, just help me out. That is what you're looking for. That is the thing that is going to build the society up. That's going to make this world better as opposed to bringing it down.
Show me a way to survive. Help me is what I ask of you. Not give me an educated point of view of why my ass is tingling because you're shoving me so much bullshit my way. I'm sorry, I got to say it that way. But the bottom line is this. You got people out there in this world that think that they're so high up on the totem pole, but don't you go to the bathroom like us? Don't you eat like us?
Of course.
Don't you drink like us?
The common man, right? The common man,
What's
the common woman.
difference?
We all do the same things. We all have the same desires, the same flaws. It's the primal parts of our being that we have all the same things. We all do the same things. All the same desires, the same thoughts, the same ideas. And the same struggles.
Yeah.
Same struggles.
Everybody's struggling.
Some of us, you know.
Even the billionaires are struggling.
Over to our. Oh yeah.
Yeah, billionaires struggle. Believe me, I know somebody is super wealthy, and they scared to lose their money. Ain't that a struggle?
Oh. Well, I tell you, that is a struggle. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, when it becomes. If money does become a thing that is so powerful in your life that is all you ever concerned about ultimately, if that's a thing that is just drawing you to that, then you know maybe it is something that is. It's not to say that wealth is not a wonderful thing, and it's people absolutely deserve what they have worked for, but if it is something that you don't even make yourself happy with it, right? It's like the Christmas Carol. right? A Christmas Carol,
Yeah,
Charles Dickens.
Charles Dickens.
It's like Scrooge, right? Scrooge, he worked hard, man. He was working working Bob Cratchit to death too.
He burned that
But
midnight oil.
he don't make, as his nephew Fred says, geez, he doesn't even make himself happy with all he does. It's just he just works just to work to make more money, but he doesn't spread cheer, and he doesn't have cheer for himself. So that's no good.
No.
That's no way to live. We shouldn't be living like that. We should be living happily with our families and our friends. And hey, I'll tell you what, I am a huge Christmas Carol fan. So if anyone wants to jump on about that, I tell you, I love A Christmas Carol. So but that's true. That is something, it's an ethical tale. It's a story of a person that is lost, right? And they find their way back through some revelation. Some revelation.
Yes, it was a real revelation when it comes to seeing yourself in a gravestone in front of you. That's a true revelation.
Get some ghosts showing up in your room at 2:00 in the morning. The ghost of Christmas Present. I mean, he was the most cheerful one.
Yeah.
The ghost of Christmas Future. He was not a pleasant guy. He definitely scared the hell out of Scrooge. So, yeah. But yeah, man. That's the thing. Like we say, it's it's meant to be an entertaining thing, and most of the time. But hey, like I said, this show can be about anything. We can talk about religion. We can talk about philosophy. We can talk about ghosts and UFOs and stuff. Hey, listen, I'll talk about my UFO experience. I did have a UFO experience. I'm not gonna get. It's not like astounding. No one's gonna be like, wow, that's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. And I didn't talk to ETs or anything like that. But,
hold on, you weren't on there with Sasquatch.
We can talk about.
You didn't get there with Sasquatch and a gray alien, and you didn't get a voice from someplace past Pluto. All right, I was gonna check.
I've never seen any of this stuff.
Okay, I'm still checking because I heard somebody was smoking weed with Sasquatch.
Yeah, man, I never seen any of that stuff.
All right. So my question for you would be, if this world, I'm not even gonna go into the philosophy of the utopian, because it's almost impossible for that to happen, because you have too many ideologies indoctrinated and embedded within humans for anything to really change that drastically. But how about this? If you could see a world of peace, would it have a belief in it, or would it not? And would it have an ideology in it other than to protect and love your neighbor?
So when it comes to utopia, a utopia that we talk about from a philosophical perspective, I'm going to have to say that no real utopia can exist ultimately as we as human beings exist. When we as human beings exist, we are always going to be fallible. We're always going to be able to fall back on our worst selves. We can always become our worst selves. And I think that ultimately that a utopia, I don't know if that is possible, that for that to be a real thing. Not in this world. Not if as I have said, I do believe in an ultimate evil. So of course, no matter what, there's always going to be this sort of evil presence that is always going to be there. That's always going to disrupt any sort of secular idea of
greed,
of a utopia.
Greed. But, greed would be the key, wouldn't
close to it, but maybe
greed would be the key to destroying a utopia.
Oh, power is always that. That's what the devil entices men to do. To find more power, to find more ways to subjugate other people, to bring them under their persuasion, under his persuasion. Ultimately, it's not just we are just a pawn in his great power. So that is true. There are always going to be, as long as evil exists in this world, no utopia ultimately is possible. We may come close to it. You can come close and close and close, but there's always going to be this diabolical presence that is going to just topple the Jenga tower down, right? You're going to be like, you're building this thing up, it's awesome, it's fantastic, and then at some point, the diabolical presence is going to be like, ha, here I am, everybody. I'm going to knock your tower down. And it always will. It's always going to happen. It's always going to happen that way. So we can strive for it. We can strive for utopia, but ultimately a utopia in the living, in the flesh, because the way we are, as we are, I don't know. I don't think it's possible. I don't think we have the capability of it, because we are always destined to sin. We're always destined to commit evil acts. We all will. We all do it. And some of us more than others. I mean, some of us do have more propensity to do terrible things. And again, not irredeemable, but we do have the ability to do horrible, horrible things to each other. And we do every day. I mean, could you imagine if you could see all the bad that goes on in the world every day? Just as if you could see all the good that goes on in the world, which we don't see that either. But the paralysis that you would have, the absolute, like, we just simply cannot. And ultimately, you know, I do have a kind of a chip on my shoulder when it comes to the media and whatnot, because the media does, the mainstream media does portray, it's almost like this sort of like due diligence to not cause undue panic to society, you know, by showing us bad things. But it's selective. It's a selective thing. We don't see what's happening in, southern Kazakhstan, or we don't see what's going on in parts of the Amazon or this and that. Bad things are going on all over the place, all over the world, but it's always selective. It's a selective thing. These news outlets like to show you what they want, what they believe is going to get you upset. But yeah, there's bad things going on everywhere in the world. You just choose what you want to see. Choose the bad thing that you want to see to get everyone riled up. And that's always been my thing is, hey, listen, I get it. The news media is meant to report on things, but they do choose what they report. They're selective in what they report to upset people, to get people fired up. Just understand, though, that that's not the only bad thing that's going on in the world. There's many bad things going on in the world, and many of these things you're not meant to know about. You're not care. The entities that run this don't care that you know about it. They're making profit off of your fear and your concern over these one or two subjects that are happening. But it's happening. All the bad is happening everywhere. So that's my piece on the media anyway. I've always been very skeptical of it, and I don't like to fall in with them. Just fall in with them, because it's just, I don't believe that they have the best interests of society in mind, because they are a moneymaker. They all falls back to the almighty dollar. So
ain't that a shame to say that?
That's my tirade on.
Yeah, it's a shame to say that.
It's true though.
I mean, people want money so much, they want power so much, they'll sell their own assholes to get to it, or their mother, or their little daughter, or their own sister, and it's ridiculous, or their brother. The worst part of this society that's coming out right now is about this child trafficking and the exploitation of the youth on all parts. And I mean, I've had conversations with a lot of people, and I just don't want to get into that. I don't want to see it. I mean, children are supposed to be free. Children are supposed to be able to think freely, not indoctrinated. But guess what we gave them? We give them the internet.
Yes.
Think about this. A
powerful tool.
Yeah.
Powerful tool.
I mean, I'm looking at it now. Children can play Minecraft at 5 years old and know the game better. That's scary.
This whole thing is a portal into another world. I mean, it's what we experience, right? Hey, like the that show Black Mirror, right?
Yes.
That Netflix show. I think it's Netflix. But the idea is it's a portal into another world. You know, once you and I get on these laptops, right, and we're staring into our computer screens, we're entering into a world that is connected. Is swimming in an ocean of ideas and concepts and things. Think about it this way. Think about all the negative energy out there, right? I mean, I use this a lot. It's a stupid analogy, but like, you know, the movie Ghostbusters 2, right? There's mood slime, right?
Yeah.
Mood slime under the city, right? It's pure concentrated evil. But there's truth to that.
Yeah.
There's actual truth to that, because what we experience on the internet, think about all the negative stuff that's out there. I mean, really negative stuff. I mean, think about every day, if you were to quantify the amount of bad, negative commenting, ranting, just hatred for fellow man, imagine how much there is every day. And now times that by every year that goes by, and just how much is just stored on these servers out there, man. I tell you what, just power, just absolute power. And it has power behind it. You know, was the fellow there, the dude that you know, shot up the mosque there in New Zealand. You know, I was reading that person was completely radicalized via the internet. He had no other contacts. It was like as if, you know, like some people may have, you know, people that they talk to, you know, offline or whatever. No. This guy was completely radicalized via the internet.
Sure.
Now that's interesting. That means that something out there, the powers that exist out there, the things, this tangible, metaphysical, I guess you could say it, psychic energy, which is a real thing, has power to influence people. You know, if I take all the negative comments, right, about every social, political, racial thing out there, whatever, and I stick it on a platform somewhere, and then you just objectively show up and you read this stuff, you're going to have an emotional effect. It's going to have an emotional effect on you, and it's going to influence how you feel and how you react to things. And I think that people underestimate the power of negative psychic energy, which I'm not using psychic in the term of like this idea of like a pseudo type of thing. I mean, it is a true reactive force that exists. If you go on to any of these platforms, any of these things, look at the negative. You know, one of the most interesting things I ever read was this is early on. This is like probably 2005 or so, maybe a little bit later. But there was this thing called the rainbow cake comment apocalypse. If you ever get a chance to look this up, it's astonishing, because have you ever seen that?
Yes.
The comment apocalypse on the rainbow cake thing?
Yes.
It was actually Australia that yeah. So basically, it was a radio show, right? That had like a community page, right? And they're like, oh, this woman shows up and she's like, oh, I'm gonna post this amazing, like, you know, rainbow cake that you know, has like numbers and stuff in it, and it's just the most innocuous thing. You would never like think like this is going to generate
hate,
insanity, but the internet does that, and it did. All of a sudden, as you're reading through the comments, you're like, all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know what? I use room temperature butter as opposed to refrigerated butter. Oh, you're an asshole. Oh, okay, great. And then another person hops on like, are you really a baker? Oh, no. You're probably a communist too.
Yeah,
oh, you might be. You know, and then all of a sudden, other people. Oh, this person's a Nazi. It's just this de-evolution that happens. Like, that's just what we do as human beings. Like, we tend to have this one like innocent thing, and then all of a sudden it becomes this absolute garbage heap.
White eggs versus brown eggs.
Void vortex. You know,
white eggs versus brown eggs.
I've always thought that was an interesting thing.
Yeah.
It's a psychological thing.
I thought, I mean, I remember the part about the white egg and the brown egg. Why? What's the difference? I mean, it's a damn egg in my book, but okay. I don't know.
Doesn't matter. Brown egg, white egg, brown egg. Hey, I've heard the commercial. Brown eggs are local eggs, and local eggs are fresh. I don't know. Maybe that's a lie. I don't know. Maybe it's not true. I don't know. I'm just telling it like it is. What I've heard.
I don't know.
Maybe what I've heard is wrong.
Oh my God.
We just got so much going on this show tonight. I don't know. I feel like I've gone all over the place.
Well, you haven't talked the mathematics yet. You know, the quantum equation is not equal to the caliber of the equation that we were used to do bichromal quantum physics. So I think you're a Satanist for not believing in it.
Well, that's probably accurate. I mean, that might be true. You know, and the only caliber that I know is 5.56. You know what I mean? So.
Oh no, hell no! You're wrong about that, sir.
Yeah. No, oh well, yeah. You know, just so we're all.
You must
on the
be a
same
Nazi.
Exactly. Yeah, man.
You're a fascist.
Yeah, I tell you. Yeah, fascist. Just. Yeah. Good God.
Hold on.
That's it, man.
If I change the tint, you could be orange. I'm sorry.
The tip can be orange, yes.
You got me on that one.
That's true.
But you know, people just have no common sense.
That's accurate.
People have no common sense, do they? They have no ability to obtain any truth.
Here's the thing. People don't have common sense, and it is like a misnomer to expect like everyone to be on the same page about things.
What page?
You can walk in anywhere, walk into any subway or whatever, you know, in a train station, and you're just sitting around psychopaths all the time, man. You have no concept of like how crazy everyone actually is sitting around you.
Oh my God!
I now like I just assume that everyone is a nutbag and they're going to try to kill me. So I just assume that that's what's going to happen. So head on a swivel all the time. Always keep your head on a swivel.
Ain't it a shame that you have to do that stuff?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, look at the world you're living in.
Part of life.
Hold on, but around this country, do you not realize they've actually closed down more insane asylums and psychiatric hospitals than they've shut down prisons?
Yes.
I think
that
that's
is
funny.
true.
I think that's funny.
Man, I tell you what. This is what just as a sidetrack. I know we go down these side roads.
You do like the side roads.
I live in New England. I do. I love. Man, I immediately, like, if we're walking down the sidewalk, if we were walking down the sidewalk together, I'd be like, I bet we can get to this over here if we just go down this alley. We may get killed. We may get killed, but we're going to go down this alley, and I think it's a quicker route. But I love going down side roads. So I live in New England, and one thing I love this story. So the talking about psychiatric hospitals. So we have the Danvers State Hospital, which is in Massachusetts, which is famous for its like crazy, like it was an insane asylum, right? I don't mean to offend, but it was an insane asylum.
Hold on, excuse me, sir. Excuse me, you're not politically correct. It's not insane asylum.
I guess we're just gonna.
It's an institution for the.
It was a nut house, so we're
okay, nut.
We're gonna throw that out there.
Okay, it's a nut house. Sir, you're not politically correct. Go ahead.
No, listen. I think at this point we're far beyond any sort of political correctness. But
that's not politically correct either.
Hold on to whatever thoughts you had, because I need to go down this alley real quick, because I just need to. But because this could be a fun show unto itself, like later on. So it's talking about this insane asylum, right? So weird stuff happened there. Very weird stuff. Like, they were doing electric shock therapy. They're doing everything to people back in like the turn of the century. Anyway, flash forward a few years, like this place it's Gothic looking. It looks like a castle in like Romania. Like it's huge, right? Like this is something out of a horror movie. And in fact, I think they made a movie called Session 9. There was a horror movie that came out years ago. Not very good, if I remember right. But anyway, it took place in this insane asylum. It was an abandoned insane asylum. So anyway, what they did, what would you think you would do with an insane asylum after it's decommissioned, right? Maybe just tear it down? Yeah. No, that's not what they did. They made it into apartment buildings, folks.
Oh God.
So I want you to imagine, right? So you move into a place, and like you're talking to the realtor. You're like, hey, what was this architecture is interesting. What was this? What was my apartment in before this? And they're like, oh, it was at one point a very serious, like very Gothic looking insane asylum. I tell you what, man, if there are ghosts, that place has got ghosts. I would like to talk to people over there and be like, hey, what's going on, man? Are the walls bleeding? Like, what, you got rapping on the doors at night? Like, what's going on? I can't imagine. Like, if I couldn't even imagine. You walk into a place like, hey, this was an insane asylum. Like, no, I'm not going to live here. Are you kidding me? No. There's no way. Anyway, that was my side street. I'd love to. What I might do is I might go and look into that deeper and bring back more information for another show.
Oh my God!
Anyway, that was my side. That was my little journey.
I can see you going and see your
Look
nice
it up, man.
new
Fucking Danvers State Hospital, man. Serious stuff happened there. It's
nice new apartment
now. It's condos.
Oh, your nice new place. You know, you got a beautiful kitchen. You got wall-to-wall ceilings, and you got all the spacious interior. You got a beautiful balcony, and did I tell you it was the office for the headmistress?
But where your stove is probably where they did electric shock therapy. You know, you're thinking to yourself there's some really weird stuff that happened in here at night, and when I hear screaming and in the middle of the night, it's probably ghosts. So
might need to call Reverend Ed.
That's my thought anyway. But man, I tell you what, Reverend Ed, man, he will take care of your exorcism issues, man. I tell you what, that guy, he knows what he's doing. So, folks, if you have issues of the exorcist nature, I would absolutely recommend having Reverend Ed speak to you on those matters. So,
oh yes,
that's my opinion.
Great advisor. He's a great advisor, boy. I tell you, Reverend Ed,
he's a great guy.
He's taken me from 0 to 65, and since the time he's been here, and I tell you, this engine is still functioning on all cylinders, and I have to give credit where credit's due, and I have to say it. Reverend Ed, he mentioned you, and bringing you on was actually the greatest joy I've had in a while, because I've had many good hosts, but I see more possibilities when I look at you. I look at Rob, Melinda, Christopher Wayne Fisher. I mean, Gary the Man Marshall, he's institutionalized here. Jeffrey Boyd Jr., institutionalized here. All the people from blue collar all the way down to, our new one is coming up. She might be having a show earlier, which will be hopefully in December, if Miss Jennifer Mallett gets it straight. We got Cynthia. She's cool as hell. My God, that sister's awesome. I mean, you got a whole bunch of brains. Oh, of course, Seraphim. We can't do it. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we got to mention them, or I get cursed out by Linda. She will. Kathleen. I get cursed out there too. Did I miss anybody before I get cursed out? Did say Kathleen, right? Good. There he is. My man, Eugene, Sonny, Irvin. Yeah, I don't want to get, chewed out by him by saying, hey, I just came out, No. My boy, the Jackal, over at PSN Radio, I kind of mention him. I'm trying to remember everybody because, we talk so much, it's just like, hey, what's up? Oh, Penny. Penny, I ain't gonna forget
Penny,
you.
That's right. We got Penny.
Yeah, we got Penny. I don't want to get slapped by Penny because she might go grab a bag of them and knock me over the head.
Absolutely.
Penny come get you, man. She ain't got no jokes. I mean, we got a great, like I said again, we got a lot of minds here, useful minds that think constantly, and I mean tonight. I don't want you to show it too much all the time now, but you are one of those thinkers as well. And I mean, did I miss Katie over here? Because I mean, if I forget her, I might not be able to sleep at night.
Oh Jesus, yeah, man, don't do that.
I'm sorry. And I gotta
Yeah.
say, Amanda. Yes, Amanda. Yes, we love you too. If not, I won't be able to sleep
Amanda.
at night. Yeah, we gotta love Amanda and Katie because if not, I won't be able to sleep at night. I mean, we got a whole full spectrum of, even the Laura Eisenhower, Geraldine Kolsko, Brad Olson. I mean, we got a full register of everything.
You have a hell of a network here. You just have a hell of a network, I tell you.
I mean,
just so many different perspectives and ideas that are out there. So
I mean, we can hold a conference, bro.
It's a great thing.
We can host a conference, and the conference would be an all-star studded cast because we got people that think. Can you do that at any other network? I gotta ask that question because I mean, look at Keith Anthony Blanchard. I mean, that's my man, Keith Blanchard. I love him to death. I got to get him and Reverend Ed together. Oh, my God. Oh, the ministers together would be awesome. I mean, we got some.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I get tongue-tied when I think about the beginnings to now about this network. And then I see you there. I mean, you sit in the background with that clock and that light. And you get that bottle out. And like me, you start to ponder everything, thinking of everything, digging deeper and deeper. And, that rabbit hole never closes up, does it?
No, it sure doesn't. Sure doesn't.
And
It's fun, man. That's the thing. We have fun here. We come out, we chit chat. We have good conversations. Like we say, like one night it's deeper than another, but it's gonna be pretty light probably next week. So,
it'll probably get deeper. Depends on who pops on next week too. But
yeah, you know what? Hey, that happens too. I mean, it's fine.
We never know what's going to happen on this network because the phone lines are always open, and sometimes people like tonight. I know people are hating tomorrow. I know people hate tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, and you know what Friday means? I got to be right here at home with my chillins in front of a computer from 8 o'clock in the morning till 3 p.m. And try to get my own work done.
It's a good day, man.
It's a good thing, but you know something? COVID-19 has taught people a lot of things. First thing it taught you to know your spouse or your mate or whatever you want to call it. It taught you to know your children. Those that got older children that are stuck at home with your parents get to really know you. Well, listen up, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a supernatural and I'm here. And I want to let you know this show can be heard on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network YouTube page or on the summerfusion.com page. We are here to love you. This is supernatural, and this is my night because guess what? I am here with Madman Jax, and we're partying like it's 2020 all over again. Ladies and gentlemen, I say goodnight because I want you to go back and listen to the archive. Good night. Ladies and gentlemen, Global Enlightenment Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on. Let's see what Madman Jax got to say.
But I'm walking. She's in a stroller, and I'm thinking to myself, "Yeah, it's weird, man. This is just a weird time that we're living in." And as I said in the last show, it's like, you can't escape the madness, right? We live in the madness. This is the realm of madness. That's what we're in, right? We're in the realm of madness.
And this is the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. I want you to go to the archive. Madman Jax, Odin. Madman Jax himself on 9/17/2020 and enjoy, because guess what? We're going straight to the server. Good night, everybody. Oh, by the way, let me say it nicely. Ramona, my cousin, you know where to go. Good night. And sweet dreams, my fellow people.